Hi, it's Anne. Thanks for stopping by. It's Letter of the Week time. This is our weekly series where we randomly draw letters of the alphabet and let them inspire us to make something creative and maybe somewhat unusual for our junk journals. Today's letter is the letter E. And I am well, E could be for excited because I'm excited to show you what I have today. I have these little expanding notebooks. They are just ridiculously exciting to me. They can stick very easily into a pocket in a junk journal. This was just a little practice one that I did using for covers, just some food packaging. I ended up liking it so much, I'm not even going to cover it up with collage. But look what happens. Can you even see this? Look how cool that is. And then it very easily folds back up again. I'm going to pull you out just a little bit so you can maybe see it a little more easily. Okay, there's our notebook. Look at it expand. It's very exciting. Oh, I just thought this was so cute. Super easy. E should be for easy as well. See how great the letter E is? It really is. I'm going to show you what inspired this whole thing. My husband was in the garage cleaning things out in prep for our drywall project the other day. And he came running inside and said, oh, look what was in with some of our camping stuff. And it was this little map, a map that we had picked up in Bend, Oregon when we were there camping a few years ago. And I looked at it and I thought, my gosh, it's this whole camp map for the Bend area, with maps front and back. And then it just so easily, it's the easiest map you'll ever fold up. He was not even back in the garage by the time I had grabbed a piece of scratch paper and was folding it to try to mimic this thing. And I saw how easy it was. And I thought, okay, this is going to be our letter E, this little expanding notebook. So come back in. That ought to be just fine. Let's pick the biggest piece of paper that we can find to fold this center portion, because that's really the key, is to get a large sheet of paper. Any kind of copy paper is fine. I have some of this kind of odd shaped paper that's about the thickness of copy paper. Oh, here's my ruler. It's an odd, I say odd because you don't find a lot of paper that's 11 by 12. It was just in a stack that I found at the thrift store. I coffee dyed it. I'll tell you what, let's do something a little bit different though. I think it might be more accessible to demonstrate if I use a piece of scrapbook paper. And this is very thin scrapbook paper. This is not the thick cardstocky kind. This is 12 by 12. It was blank on the back, and I rubbed a little bit of coffee lightly. I have a branding strip on one side that I'm going to cut off. So it's going to be roughly about 11 by 12. But the actual size isn't going to matter. You can do it with an 8.5 by 11 sheet. It turns out a little differently, and we'll look at that too, but it's just as cute to use. So I'm going to cut off this branding strip, or this imprint on the back side. I'll use that for something cute in collage. And here is my piece. Yeah, let's just get started with this. The key that I found to making this little, expandable notebook is to fold it accordion style, but that's part of the refold. We're just going to worry about getting the folds in there, not going to worry about the direction at first. So I'm going to take it and fold it in half, because on the longer side, we're going to do 4 folds across, and the shorter side, we'll do 3 folds across. So we're going to work on doing our quadruple fold first. And I've only done this a couple of times because Dan just found that Bend, Oregon map a couple of days ago. Yeah, that's not going to crack. I'm going to be okay with that. Look carefully to make certain that your paper isn't so fragile that it's going to crack. I'm going to open it back up again and fold just until the edges meet that center fold. Almost up to it. There we go. If you have a bone folder handy, it's going to get you a nice crisp fold. I'm going to do the same on the other side, so that it just comes within a hair's breadth of meeting there. There we go. Now I'm going to, this is going to be the side I'm going to glue my, my little cover on. So I want that facing up. I want to create an accordion fold. So leave this fold here. That center fold, I'm going to have it pull back on itself. So I've got a nice accordion going there. You know, zip, 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 zip. Does that make sense? Wait, let me do that again. Zip, 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 back and forth. Now, yeah. Now I'm going to fold the top into thirds. And this is where you have to eyeball it a little bit. The top, I mean the strip, in thirds. And you maybe can crease it lightly before you've got made your final commitment. So this is your folded strip. You're going to do that in thirds. And then this is still going to, yeah, I guess I'm going to make this the front. I'm going to turn that fold back on itself. So again, we have another Z there. That's the technical terminology. Now, we've got a free flap here, and that's what we need to we're going to work with that. Now I'm just going to make some covers. I've taken another little piece of lightweight cardboard. I think this was a cracker box. And I just did a little colorful collage on it, and we're just going to use that. I'm going to mark it here. Let's see, I didn't get my Z fold completely accurate there. I might go back and do just a little more coaxing to get that a little more uniform. Although, again, it does not have to be super precise. As I always say, we are not making Swiss watches here. Here we go. Here's a pen. Or a pencil. And I'm going to, with this, I made the covers very close to this, the size of my paper, but I'm going to just go just a little bit bigger this time. And I do want them to be the same size, so I'm going to cut one for a master, and then I'll duplicate that size with my other cut. I could be more accurate getting my trimmer out, but it's easier for me to use the craft knife. I didn't put anything on the back of this little cracker box. I just collaged on the top with whatever scraps were around. And do this one, and then mark the other one and cut that, and then we'll be ready to glue. I did a little bit of stenciling on the inside of my prototype, which I may or may not do this time because I want to do several. I want to show you. But all of that wonderful journaling space that's on the inside, all of the room that our fine friends in Bend, Oregon took up with their town map and their campsite map, we can take up that room with journaling. And I've got a couple of ideas. If that big of a journaling space seems intimidating, I have a couple of ideas that you can artistically work around that and fill that space. All right, that nice long line there is going to tell us where to cut our trusty craft knife that we always use safely, don't we? There we go. Little collage things. I can use those for little tuck-ins for pockets later. Nothing goes to waste. I do think I want to round the corners here because my corner rounder is always handy. Oh, that turned out kind of nice. How did this? Yeah, I like both of these. I think I'm going to save this one for my cover. And I'm going to do just the little gentle rounding. That cracker box is going to make almost the perfect weight. And let's go ahead and ink the edges here. This will be for the back, and this will be for the front. Use a mixture of maps and music pages and a couple of printouts. Decorative fly sheets from some books. All right. Yep, there's that open single thickness there. And this is our decorative side. This is the side we won't be journaling on. You certainly could if you wanted to. But in this case, I chose the pattern so that we weren't quite so intimidated by the journaling space. And I'm using my art glitter glue. There is, of course, no glitter in it. That's just the brand. If you order your art glitter glue from May Made It, like I do, soon it will not be time to do that because they don't ship during cold weather. So if you're inclined to stock up on your art glitter glue this time of year, this is your reminder to do that. I am not affiliated. I'm just an enthusiast. I got a little bit of that piece of tissue paper collage coming up there, easily fixed. So there's the front of our little expanding notebook. I'm just going to come in, and this is the bottom part. Again, this is just a single thickness here. And glue that here. And I'm going to try to make certain I've got these lined up pretty well. I want to let that glue dry for just a moment. What should we put on the cover there as a focal point? Do we want to go with a little bird? We could go... kind of wish I had some different kinds of clusters sitting around. I have a bunch of postage stamps. Let's go with a bird. We have some of that little music that makes us think of bird song. These might be a little bit busy. I don't know what that's doing in my bird folder. I guess because they look like eggs. I'd like to find something maybe just a little more colorful. What about this? These are some that I got from my friend Laurel, who lives just across the river from me. What about that downy woodpecker? Yes, I'm enjoying that. See, it's handy to have all of my different oddball cutout birds all here in the same little vellum envelope. Although, truth be told, this envelope is getting pretty darn full. I might need something bigger soon, but that's also a cue to me that I need to use them. Oh, I love this little card. I haven't used enough of these. Well, that's changing today, isn't it? Yes. That's going to be sweet. And I'll get this marked down in our little expanding notebook. We'll be ready to try out, then we'll make another one. These little cards were some sort of original ephemera that Laurel found somewhere. They're all branded with Arm & Hammer, so maybe they came with baking soda back in the day. I don't know. It's done. It's done, kids. Look at this. Look at all that journaling we can do in there. The back side is really sweet. You can certainly journal on the back there too, but you don't have to. And it just folds together so easily. No struggling with that map. If it feels like it's maybe a little thick for you, you know, just a little bit of twine around it will take care of that. I wanted to show you something. If you're worried about, what are you going to write in here? I mean, I obviously always have a lot to say, so I don't think I would have any problem filling this up with thoughts about things that are important to me. But what if you were, let's say this was going in a nature notebook or something like that. And what if you just wrote in big words, nature walk, 10, 12, 25 or something like that in big letters, and then drew around that, and then just wrote in small, in small writing all around your big, creating a written focal image here, but just with your pen, writing around that, family fun, the trip to the beach and the picnic and all the, just write a few little things around that big theme that you have. And then you just gently pull those things together. And you've got your notebook. Oh, let's put a little twine around here because I think that also looks sweet. If you were worried about your twine coming off, you could do kind of what I did with this one. I just put a little, if you can see here, I just made a little partial circle punch on the sides. I think that would be so cute. And look, it's not very thick. It's not very thick at all. Let's do another one. But before we do, if you want to make one out of an 8.5 by 11 sheet, you can easily do that, but you're going to have a reasonable size, you're only going to have 3 folds across instead of 4. Let me show you. Here's an 8.5 by 11 sheet. And it was only wide enough to do 3 folds across and 3 folds down. What that means is you end up with your front and your back on different sides of your journaling space. And that's also okay. I mean, it would be perfectly fine. You'd have a lot of journal space front and back that you can write in. It's just going to fold in a different way. So well, it folds in almost exactly the same way, but you just have your front and your back end up on opposite sides. If that's the plus size is, it's thinner, so it would tuck into a pocket a little bit more easily. Okay, sorry, I had a brief interruption. Let's use some wrapping paper. I think that a nice quality wrapping paper that has at least one side that's not all slick is going to give you some really nice journaling space. And this particular paper is thin enough. It's going to fold nicely, give us a nice crisp edge without cracking. Hopefully you have something like that that might be a good option for you. Before we get to the folding, I'm going, because I want to have the cover dry before we go to cutting it, I'm going to go ahead and prep that first, the cover in the back. This piece of Kleenex box, that stuff before it hits the recycle bin. Make sure you've looked at it to assess its worth as a craft supply first. I'm just going to put my glue stick on this, and I pulled out a sheet of, out of my scrap bin, a strip of sheet music. I think this was from a bunch of Chopin piano works, which my lovely viewer Judy has probably already pegged. Judy is a very good sight reader. And I always think of Judy when I go to use even a scrap of music page. Girlfriend can see a little scrap of something and say, oh, that was a Mahler symphony. I think I've mentioned Judy before. I always enjoy interacting with her. Anyway, this little bit of Chopin is going to go on here, and I think I'm going to wait until it dries even before I trim it down. It's just going to take a minute. I just don't like cutting across when that glue stick is still super wet. Okay, let's get to folding this. This is wrapping paper, and I just cut it 12 by 12. I think I got it 12 by 12. Truth be told, I traced it. Okay, so it looks like it's about 12 and a half here, but that's also okay. By 12. I traced it around, just so I could get the corner square. Traced a piece of scrapbook paper, you know, drew my lines around it and tore it that way. All right, I'm going to put my backside up, backside of my paper that is, and get that center fold. And I'll bring you out just a little bit. There we go. I'm not used to working with these larger sheets, so I realized I was partly off camera. Maybe I still am, I don't know. There we go there. And there we go there. This is a little tricky since it's directional. Now, before I get the accordion part put on, I'm going to want to be mindful, because in my practicing, I've made mistakes this way, and I've learned to double check. I want my open piece, my single thickness that's open, I want that to be on the upper right-hand side. So this is going to be the front, this little piece here, and I'm going to be covering it up anyway, so I'm going to remind myself I'm going to mark an F there. So I'm going to refold the center fold back on itself so we can have our accordion take place. There we go. I feel confident in pressing that down a little bit more. Okay, there's our little accordion with our front having an open piece here on the right side. And do we have our accordion here? Yes, our Z's. Yes, we do. All right. Fold it this way. Looks like I've got a little bit of creepage here, but that's probably also okay. Fold it into thirds this way. press it down gently there. Yeah, come back just a little bit. Because the paper does thicken up, it's going to use up some of its length just wrapping around the other layers, and then it'll lose some of that when we go to accordion the thing out. I think that's going to be pretty close. Let me bring it up just a little bit more this way. Yeah, I feel more confident in that. Actually, I'm going to turn it this way so I can have the accordion going from the get-go rather than refolding that. There we go. Here's our front. We're going to put our little cover there. And I could trim off here if I felt like I really needed to, but I think I'm going to leave it. I think I'm not going to worry too much about precision. Yeah, I think that's going to be fine. And as long as I know that this is folded, that's open there, upper right hand. Now let's go back here and maybe trim up this little bit. I think this piece, yeah, that's going to be, yeah, it's barely wide enough to cover this, but it's fine. It's going to be just fine. And I will probably tie twine around this as well. That came off slick as you please. My luck with tearing music paper is not always the best. So I chose to use my craft knife with trimming this up today. And let's measure out how wide we want this to be, or how long we want it to be. We'll come down to about there. Get that trimmed off. Well, man, I've got stuff stuck to my ruler. Oh, Dan is cooking some chili upstairs in the kitchen on this cozy afternoon. We're going to have a good dinner, I can tell you that. There's that, and we'll have these beautiful little music page covers. I always love putting music pages and birds together. So I guess that's one of our little themes today. I'll use this small, again, the small gentle rounding for these corners. And then I'll probably choose a bird to go on the outside. That seems, it's a bit on the nose, but I can't resist. And who doesn't love birds? We all love birds. Anybody who ever gets a present for us has to like birds because it's going to be wrapped in that bird wrapping paper. You've heard me say before that Dan and I, mostly Dan, we had a small store, a little retail store, part of the Wild Birds Unlimited retail network. This was starting in 2001, back in Corning, New York, where we lived. And boy, we really enjoyed having that store. I worked at Corning Incorporated in in Corning, New York, and my husband ran the Wild Birds Unlimited store in their little business district. There, that's going to be cute. It's going to be kind of close on the width, but that was the width of the cardboard I had, and I'm just going to make it work. Let's go ahead and get it put into place. See, it's fine that I marked my reminder there because I'm going to be covering this up anyway. Anyway, this wrapping paper was something we had in our store, and over 10 years of having that store, I think we went through a couple of rolls of, maybe a roll and a half of it over 10 years, and we had a lot of hand-wrapped gifts there, that's for sure, at Christmas time especially. I always liked that. Dan always, although I only worked with him on weekends, I loved during the Christmas season being in charge of the gift wrapping, and I always used that paper. There. Anyway, when we closed the store, we had about a half a roll left over, and that's been 15 years, and we're still working on that paper. But I use it for crafts, obviously, as well. Okay, now here's our back, and it's open on the lower left. Putting our art glitter glue to good use. I don't think I need to order any more this fall. I think I'm in pretty good shape. I don't make as many cards as I used to. I ate up a lot of art glitter glue making cards. All right. There's our front, and yep. There's our beautiful journaling space. Have a little bit of glue get on there. Okay, let's decorate the front. And now I have some birds set out. I also, truthfully, I did have something like that might be kind of cute and sort of, no, it's a little bit clever with that. I could put a little piece of lace there. Oh, gee, it's just hard to pass up the birds, though. Here's several out of that pack that I was sorting through earlier. Boy, it's hard for me to pass up a red-winged blackbird. That's from a field guide, which is where most of my birds come from. Got a little circle that kind of looks like a harvest moon. How about that little arrangement? And maybe I'll pull in a couple of labels. I have some Tracy Fox labels. A lot of these are insect related, so I don't want those as much. What about, I kind of like that arrangement. How about that? Let's get this little punched out circle here to begin with. Several people have asked about this metal tip on my art glitter glue. That is generally always sold separately. They're very inexpensive. So I do recommend those little metal tips. Art glitter glue is not a cheap glue, and it helps you get just a little thin bead when you're using it, which is all you need. Generally all you need. Let's get that there. And I think that was about the placement that we wanted. And does this label need to tuck underneath there? I think I'm going to put the bird down first and then let that label. No, I want the bird on top. So the label's going to go down there, and the bird, if it needs to overlap a little bit. I love red-winged blackbirds. We had them in abundance when I was a kid in Nebraska, and they're still, you see them everywhere. The males and the females look so different. The males have the showy, beautiful plumage, and as is often the case, the females are a lot more subdued. I guess they're more serious, huh? I don't know. Always seemed unfair to me, but it's all about camouflage, so. There we go. Pressing that down so that little beak gets glued all the way down to the end. There is our little bird expanding notebook. Let's open it up. See if I got things in the right direction. I'll definitely save this for another day. It's a cute combination. It's nice and thin. And pull it out of a pocket in a junk journal. Oh, won't that be fun? So much journaling space, all of those glorious birds on the back, and an easy, easy fold. Do we want to put twine around it? Let's just see how it looks. Probably isn't going to need it. But it kind of looks like it's more dressed up like a present. If we want it to be so. Oh, this is so cute. Well, we have had fun making our little expanding notebooks for the letter E today. And guess what, my friends? There's only 2 letters left in Letter of the Week. How odd that it would be A and Z. Could not have guessed the odds on that, but it's time for us to see which one is going to be left for us next week. And only 2 left in here. I just don't know what it's going to be. Oh my God. I see a straight line. What is this? Yes, yes, yes. It is a Z. We're getting to Z before we get to A. Well, it's an upside down world, right? This is, we're... Those Z folds I did earlier today, I could have saved those. I don't know what I'm going to do for Z. I have a few ideas. I had a really, really good idea recently, and then I thought, oh, no, I don't know about that. So it remains to be seen. In the meantime, I hope you have fun with your little expanding notebooks. Do try them. They're super easy, and they're just like unlike anything I've ever seen before. All thanks to the inspiration from our clever friends in Bend, Oregon. So easy. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.